Right now, let's bring you back to our exciting new series on the River Nile. The Nile is the world's longest river and bears special significance for the millions who live on its shores or depend on its waters in at least 5 African countries which it flows through. Our team is on the ground in Aswan with comprehensive coverage on this river's importance. Here is CCTV's Penina Karibe. Penina, what do you have for us this evening?
Quite an exciting show, Mahi. I can tell you that. It's our second day of our continuing coverage of the Nile, a river whose water resources are shared by 11 countries and which solely supports a population of almost 90 million people here in Egypt. We are live, like you mentioned, in Aswan, south of Egypt, and this is where the Nile flows into the country from Sudan. It's quite hot here in Aswan, I can tell you, but as the days go by, you learn to cope with the temperatures and you kind of get used to that heat. Oh, I'm joined by my colleague Mohammed from the Egyptian State Television. How was your day, Mohammed?
It was good, and yours?
It was fantastic. Took a Felluca, toured the places, beautiful landscape. I enjoyed it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Back to you, we'll be talking about today about Kom Ombo Temple, which was dedicated to Sobek and Horus. And Horus played a very important role in the Egyptian famous legend of Isis, Osiris, and the vicious brother Set. Kom Ombo was called in Old Egypt Nubt, meaning city of gold. Seems there were plenty of gold at that time in Kom Ombo. Yasser Hakim has more to tell about Kom Ombo Temple.
The Nile is not just life for Egypt, but it's also the source of goodness. That's why most of the temples in Egypt are built on the riverside, because the desert represents evil. Now, this temple we're at, Kom Ombo Temple, is a special one because it's one of the rare temples that represent 2 gods, one on the right here and one on the left. On the left side, you will see a picture of a crocodile all over the temple from this side. But it's not just an ordinary crocodile, it's a god.
Sobek, the god of the Nile, the god of the military, and the god of, naturally enough, crocodiles. He surfaced as a deity around 3,000 years ago and was celebrated as a protector with an insatiable libido. Some pharaohs even modeled themselves on him. Sobek had a wide following across Egypt. Thousands of crocodiles were taken from the Nile, worshipped as living incarnations, and then mummified. Muhammad Ibrahim from the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities is an expert on Kom Ombo.
The ancient Egyptian people who were travelers, who were sailors, who stopped their ships close to the temple of Kom Ombo here to go down or to go inside this temple to represent for this god offerings, yes, to approach to this god, to keep their journey safe.
As you go farther inside the temple, you reach the exclusive chambers. And now we're at the holiest of the holy chamber. And it's called this way because this is where the king, his allies, and the clerics and advisors used to stay here for worshipping. No citizen was allowed to go inside this chamber, only the king's advisors. And here is a rock where the statue of the god Sobek used to stand, and the king and his advisors would worship him every day.
Sobek, like the other gods of the ancients, is no longer worshipped. The Nile in flood has actually destroyed much of this temple.
But the legend of Sobek lives on, a testament of the strong ties between the river and the deepest held traditions and beliefs of its people.
Also, Yasser Hakim did mention there that the river, the Nile, represented goodness. And, just taking a journey through Egypt to actually see the essence of that statement, everything happens along the river Nile. We're live from the Cataract Hotel, one of the many buildings constructed along the Nile. It's quite an old hotel, like the name suggests, Mohammed.
Yes.
And it has hosted a lot of famous people, chief among them Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill, Agatha Christie, King Farouk, the last kings of Egypt, were among many celebrities who were actual guests here in Old Cataract.
And Agatha Christie, of course, is the one who penned the famous movie, The Death on the Nile. It was filmed here in Egypt.
Yes,
An
exactly.
incredible movie. I've watched it. I really like it.
Yeah, me too. But first of all, do you know what's the meaning of cataract?
It should be a rocky place where a stream or a river runs through, right?
Exactly. There are like 11 cataracts starting from Sudan till Aswan, and this is the 11th one we're standing on here in Old Cataract.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it was built by Thomas Cook, the British investor, and it was opened in 1899. Was only for 60 guests at the beginning.
Right, and I guess also we had His Highness the Aga Khan III. That's Sir Sultan Mohammed. Sir Sultan Mohammed, right?
Yeah.
He was buried. He was a guest here in this hotel, and he was buried right across the hotel, across the Nile. There's a huge mausoleum right across the Nile.
Also, Nicholas II of Russia was a guest here.
Incredible.
So many celebrities actually came here.
Right.
Okay.
So we do have, of course, I kind of got carried away by the composition. But yeah, one of the things that have stayed relevant here is a very basic vessel that moves people and goods along the river Nile. That's the Felluca. I had the privilege of taking a ride in one of those. Really basic, but really, really efficient. Here's Fahmida Miller with more.
It's a scene that's been played out here for countless generations. The guides to this great river preparing for their working day. There are many ways of traveling up and down the Nile. One of the easiest is a Felluca. It's a way of traveling that's barely changed over the years, and Adli is our captain today.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
In a world of motorized transport, Adli and first mate Abdu continue to make a living from a simple boat that uses nothing more than the power of the wind and the strength of their backs. I think this could be a little bit easier if I help. Can I try?
You're welcome.
Okay.
You're welcome, Hamida. You're welcome.
So I'll go over here.
Yes. Then.
Right.
Okay. Together,
But-
Mr.
Okay. Up.
Daffa.
Adli, this is a bit heavy. How long have you been rowing for?
With my age 10.
10, since
yes,
you're 10 years old.
With the grandfather.
That is a long, long time.
Yes. I love his job.
You love it.
Yes.
I can see why. It's a beautiful place to be every day.
Yeah, I do all day in the Nile.
Yeah?
I live my whole life in the Nile. No, and then just in the night time I go home.
But the Felluca really comes into its own when the wind begins to blow. But wetting the sails takes a real hit for heights.
And after he's going to climb up the sailing,
Right.
It's around 7 meters.
So up to the middle is about 7 meters, all the way to the top. How many meters is that?
Yeah, and he sit about, not all, between in middle there.
Okay.
Yeah, and he bit to about 15 meters or some
15
14
meters.
meters he's gone up from down about to going up there.
And he
Yeah.
manages to climb all the way.
Yes, yes. He's a clown all the way and then.
That's pretty amazing, just
Yes.
how quickly he's able to get up
Yes,
there.
must do like this.
Yeah.
Quick, 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 yalla, hurry.
Thankfully, these two have the skills and more. They're veterans of this stretch of the river in the south around Luxor. Adli's family has been working the stretch of the river for generations. Here, in the south of Egypt, near Luxor, their main business comes from tourism. Luxor, known in ancient Egypt as Thebes, is home to some of the country's most famous sites. Among them Kom Temple and the Valley of the Kings. Tourist numbers are recovering after dipping during Egypt's recent troubles. So for Adli and Abdu, it's a good time to be working the river. But their Felluca, as these boats have done for millennia, still provides a taxi service for the locals. I've come to one of Luxor's many riverside communities. It's where Adli and his rivals pick up much of their business. Hundreds of families live here, some for generations. And one of them is the Abu Mursi family. They've lived in this house for 50 years. Sania and her family are completely independent in their life here on the island.
عايشين فيه كذا سنة من 60 سنة عايشين في البيت ده وانا ما فيش طوبة خضراء مبنية يعني طوبة خضراء حد الطوبة هذه مبنية ومبلوطة كده وجايبينه عيشتنا فيه جوزنا في العيال قد السنة دي كذا سنة 60 سنة واحنا عايشين في البيت ده فيش يعني حاجة إلا شغل ولا بقول ولا حاجة على قد الحال.
Traditional custom from local communities and from a resurgent tourist business means times are good for Adli and Abdu. At the end of a busy day, life on the Nile really gets better than this.
I liked it very much when the young man was climbing up the mosque. Have you tried anything similar this afternoon in your Felluca trip, Penina?
Well, I did try steering it, but I can tell you what, Mohammed, it takes strong arms to sail it, especially when there's no wind. But it was a good experience.
Yeah, I saw you pulling the rope.
Yeah.
Was it difficult?
It was quite difficult. That's why I mean you need strong hands to actually move it, especially when there's no wind. It takes a lot of work.
But it was windy. It was nice today.
It was. Sometimes it would get windy and sometimes it would just die out.
Okay. Tomorrow, guys, we'll be taking you into a very interesting adventure, a balloon trip over Luxor. That will be breathtaking, I promise you. Also, we'll be talking about brick making in Luxor. Please join us tomorrow. Back to the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Mohammed and Penina. That is Mohammed and Penina joining us live from Aswan with our continued coverage on the majestic River Nile.